Chris Christie suspends his campaign in the Republican presidential primary. His decision comes days before the Iowa caucuses and clears a wider path for Nikki Haley in the second state to vote. That is New Hampshire. However, Donald Trump remains the favorite. Now, Christie's departure was overshadowed briefly when he was caught on a hot microphone candidly discussing two rivals, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, before making his announcement. Christie can be heard saying, "She's going to get smoked, and you and I both know it." He also can be heard saying, "DeSantis called me petrified." This is the only nominee that was willing to take Donald Trump on. So Christie's departure is good news for Donald Trump. And the House Judiciary Committee today voted to approve a contempt of Congress citation of President Biden's son after he made a surprise appearance at the Capitol, prompting bitter partisan fighting. Representative Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat, offered to support a contempt citation against Biden if Republicans would add the name of GOP congressmen who failed to comply with subpoenas. And when President Biden shook up his party's presidential nominating calendar, Democrats in the two states that were bounced from the front of the line reacted in far different ways. New Hampshire Democrats are going down kicking and screaming, insisting on holding a primary as if they hadn't just lost their opening spot. While Iowa Democrats were ashamed by a 2020 fiasco that included a days-long wait for results that were nonetheless riddled with errors, have meekly accepted their fate as primary season also gets started. And Trump's boldest argument yet for immunity from prosecution for assassinations, yes, he and his lawyers, or through his lawyers, have argued before a District of Columbia appellate court that Trump would be immune from prosecution for the murder of a political rival unless he was first impeached and convicted in Congress. And 5 days out from the Iowa caucuses, duly televised events by Republican presidential hopefuls are happening tonight. Candidates, including Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, will be seen in a head-to-head matchup in a debate on CNN, while Donald Trump is holding a Fox town hall on the Fox News network. And the judge overseeing Donald Trump's civil fraud case will not allow the former president to speak during closing arguments. Those arguments are expected to get underway tomorrow. Trump refused to say that he'd stick to the facts of the case and not engage in any attacks. After Trump's lawyers and the judge got into a very heated debate over Trump's ability to speak during opening arguments, the judge ultimately denied the request. So at that hearing tomorrow, you will hear from Trump's attorneys, but you will not hear from Donald Trump. This is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. In this hour, because it's the second hour of Areva Martin in real time, we are going deep. We're digging behind the headlines and talking about the stories that have people talking. And today we're talking about the awards season. Yes, it's already begun. The Golden Globes are over the weekend, and this upcoming weekend, the Critics' Choice Awards will be televised. Now, for some people, this is their favorite time of the year, as celebrities and artists and filmmakers and producers come together in one place to receive new accolades. For some, it's all about the red carpet and what the actors and celebrities are wearing. Others, it's about the speeches that are often given at these awards, some speeches which are funny, some which are really depressing, and some which are off-color. So a lot of folks just watch these awards to see what the winners say and the facial expressions on the losers. Well, one of the things I'm looking at this year is the fact that only one Black movie, and that's The Color Purple, has been nominated for a Critics' Choice Award. I'm going to be talking to two extraordinary film critics in this hour about other Black movies like American Fiction and Rustin and 1001. How come neither of those movies received the Critics' Choice Award for Best Picture? Also going to be talking about Black actors who are amongst the nominees for a Critics' Choice Award, and that includes Coleman Domingo, for his role in Rustin, and Jeffrey Wright for his role in American Fiction, and Sterling K. Brown and Danielle Brooks have also received supporting actor and actresses nods by the Critics' Choice Awards. So if you are a movie buff, if you love movies, and if you love to see Black folks in movies, you want to make sure you hear what our film critics have to say, what you can look for in the Critics' Choice Award this weekend, and also what does any of this mean? The Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, what does it mean for the Oscars, which has everyone already speculating about what's going to be the biggest takeaway from this year's Oscars. So when we come forward, film critics will break down the hottest Black movies of 2023. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. So, what are you doing this Friday morning? How about you come join the KBLA delegation as we make a historic announcement and unveil our climate justice campaign for 2024. We'll be assembled for this major press conference along with LA Mayor Karen Bass, Ben Jealous, Executive Director of the Sierra Club, and a host of other public and private leaders who are joining us on this journey to justice, climate justice. We can't think of a better way to kick off the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, linking social justice and climate justice. So, come join us this Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. at the beautiful MLK Memorial Tree Grove at the top of Kenneth Hahn Park off La Cienega. Once again, that's this Friday morning, January 12th at 10:30 a.m. as we take on the task of elevating the climate conversation by amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are all witnessing in real time. KBLA delegation, we hope to see you this Friday morning at KBLA Talk 1580. Climate is king. Climate is king. God is king. God is king.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, a buck there, here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-DO.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus, plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and this is hour 2 of Areva Martin in real time, and we are talking about your favorite movies with two of my favorite, Reggie Ponder and Emmanuel Noisette, are joining me in this hour. Okay, Reggie, I know you award, so and happy to see that Color Purple is getting a nod for Best Picture, but there were a lot good Black movies that I think may have gotten overlooked. So talk to us about how Black movies did in 2023 and how come we didn't see more of them in the Best Picture category for the Critics' Choice Awards.
So, Areva, we've talked about this before, but we know that society just looks at our films differently. They just do. They look at them differently, and in fact, in many cases, they don't even look at them. You've heard reports where these films, the voters have not even looked at the African American films that are nominated. Now, I'm not saying that happened today, but I am saying that on some of these films, people probably haven't even considered as part of their consideration set. So you think of movies like They Clone Tyrone or American Symphony or We Grown Now. I want to talk about those films. You think about those films, these are films that I'm sure many of my colleagues just haven't seen. And but before you move on to my guy, E-Man from Chicago, I just want to tell you that you got one of the best in the business over there. We just got to get him compensated as one of the best in the business because E-Man can bring it, and we don't always agree, but he is one of the best in the business. So I'm really glad that you have him on.
Well, Reggie, I'm going to take that as a compliment and an insult. We don't do nothing over here but the best. So that's why E-Man is here, and that's why you are here. Thank you very much.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that, but I just want to say, look, this guy is fantastic. So that's all I got to say to that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, okay, talk to us, E-Man. What is going on with Black movies? Reggie just named off some of his favorites. I told you a couple of my favorites, from Rustin to 1001. What is it going to take for Black movies to get their just due?
Ooh, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate you letting me share some space, just a little bit of room with the great Reggie Ponder as well. Just makes all of our lives a little bit better.
Come on. It's all orchestrated.
Right. But no, I mean, the question is a very, very good one. And I think it speaks to why both me and Reggie do what we do. There are not a lot of us in this space. And, one thing that is, I would say, part of our responsibility is to try and elevate these films, to even put them into the conversation. Because just like Reggie said, some of these things are just not in the purview of our colleagues, and the whole thing with Oscars So White, it speaks to a bigger systemic issue, not just in the industry, but just culturally. You do have a vast majority of people in the press, in critics, for example, that are not Black. And not really minorities, and they're going to watch things that appeal to them. And to answer your question more directly, what is it going to take? We have to be, exemplary. Like, the movies that come out have to be above and beyond just good. They can't even be just great. They have to be like to that level where if you do ignore it, you're going to get so much negative attention that it kind of almost puts that guilt, on our colleagues to actually give them more attention. And in terms of favorites, one thing I've been singing praises for is The Color Purple. I have loved that whole production up and down. I've seen it multiple times. And that's something that I've encouraged people to go see in theaters, not at home, not streaming. That's something you have to see in theaters to get that communal and that cultural experience. Because that movie right there is something special.
So, I'm going to ask this question. No disrespect to The Color Purple. No disrespect to the incredible actors, the producers, the directors, everyone that had something to do with that movie. But you just made the point, E-Man, that there are some movies that if they are not recognized, there's going to be a backlash. So when you look at The Color Purple and look at some of these other movies that Reggie said are his favorites and some of those that are my favorite, do you think, Reggie, that The Color Purple had to show up on the Critics' Choice Awards Best Picture and will probably show up on a lot of these other awards lists? Because if it didn't, given who's involved with the movie, Oprah, Steven Spielberg, Taraji, etc., there would have been that kind of backlash that E-Man just talked about. Whereas these other movies maybe don't have as much cachet because they don't have those big names associated with them.
Well, I think yes, and I think it's unfair to put that just on The Color Purple. Is that if you look at Oppenheimer, who did that? So of course that's going to get looked at. If you look at Barbie, who did that? Of course it's going to. So yeah, there's movies that are made by certain people, get certain attention just because they're made by certain people. I will tell you is that when email talks about that our films just have to do above and beyond, is that when you look at The Color Purple, I was one of those that said, please don't do another version of The Color Purple. However, once I went to see The Color Purple, so what they did is that they did a Luther. They did a Luther Vandross. They took that House Is Not a Home song and they made it their own. I'm not saying that you're gonna forget about the original, that you're gonna forget that who made that song, but you're gonna say, wow, I really like this version. And so because they stepped it up, that is the real reason that you can't ignore it. Yeah, got that cachet of who brought it to the screen, but additionally, they actually stepped it up. What they did with this film is in my opinion, is phenomenal. So it deserves the attention that it gets. There are films, in my opinion, like a Saltburn, like a Poor Things, for me, that is getting that attention because they got the brand names, but it didn't resonate. Though neither one of those films resonated for me. I want to do a little name dropping is because our guy Clayton Davis is out at the Variety and he gets to write about this a little bit more than we do, and he's a little bit more prominent. And when you look at even what Clayton has put out as some of the best films, you'll see that as Afro-Latino, he doesn't have a lot of African-American films even on his list. And I believe that that's just because that's just the way the industry is going. The industry had us out, E-Man and I, we were out there. I'm sorry, Areva, I missed you. But we were out there in LA, and the industry had us out there because they were whining and dining us, trying to get us to say, I like this movie. I'm gonna vote for this movie. So they can't wait for Sunday, because they're hoping that whining and dining is going to do it. But I told a couple of people directly, your whining and dining is not going to influence whether I like this film at all. It just so happens that some of the people who was whining and dining me, I like a couple of those films. So I'll stop there.
Well, let me ask you this, E-Man. So I'm glad you mentioned, Clayton and, the movies on his list, and you can tell us a little later, Reggie, what those movies are. But E-Man, what movie is not on the Critics' Choice list that you think should be on the list? Are there any movies, Black movies in particular, that you think were overlooked?
I mean, it depends on the categories. Geez,
if I may,
yeah, go ahead.
If I may, E-Man, I would, and I'd love to hear your thought on this, E, is that I would think in the comedy category, They Clone Tyrone could absolutely be in that comedy category.
Oh, for sure. But again, that goes to your point of, people not feeling as though that movie was worth watching. Right. And it just kind of reminds me about when Get Out came out.
Why, E-Man? Why was there a sense that movie was not worth watching? Where did that come from?
Yeah, a lot of that comes from, I would argue, cultural bias, right? And through cultural bias, there is cultural discrimination. And I'm just speaking, just for me. Maybe this applies to others. I can't say, but I feel as though there is a sense or an obligation when it comes to minority critics. We got to watch everything, right? We have to watch a Saltburn. We have to go watch Poor Things. We have to go watch these things, even when they don't resonate with us, Banshees of Inisherin, whatever. We have to watch these things because that's part of our responsibility and job. But you have some counterparts who will be like, nah, I'm going to watch what I like. I'm going to watch what connects with me, and it's just like that kind of comes with I don't have to watch this Black film, this Asian film, this, Latino film, this LGBTQ film, because it doesn't resonate with me, So that is kind of the issue that happens. And that's why you see some of those movies get higher up and get more attention, and you get more Black films that just don't. Because They Clone Tyrone, which I thought was a brilliant film, and that should have gotten more pub, that should have been at least considered, especially for comedy. I don't think a lot of people saw it, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I kind of found it channel surfing. It clearly did not have a big marketing budget.
Right.
And let's talk about that, Reggie, for a minute. I mean, there could not have been a bigger marketing budget for Color Purple, because you had Oprah herself out on the circuit, the TV circuit, the radio circuit, you name it, Oprah was there talking about the movie. She had a whole color scheme going. She lost all her weight, so she's revealing her new body and all her new purple outfits. How much does that impact? They Clone Tyrone. I hadn't heard about it. The movie 1001, you mentioned that movie to me, and then I went and looked for it, but I had not heard much about that movie either. So, how much of this is marketing, and who's out there marketing and how they are marketing?
A lot of it. I mean, you have to think about is that the Color Purple had a marketing budget. So when you talk about this, the Color Purple, they did a premiere in LA, they did a premiere in New York, they probably did a premiere at Oprah's house. So did you go, E?
I did not go this time.
I didn't get to go to Oprah's house. So yeah, the budget really matters. So many of the films that African Americans do, these are films are labor of love. So when you look at a film like, which I haven't talked about, it wasn't done by an African American. In fact, We Grown Now, which is about two young boys in Chicago during the Cottrell Davis time when Cottrell Davis was killed, and it's really a coming of age story. It's not a true story, but it's a coming of age of two Black boys. It is beautiful. It is such a beautiful film, but it's an independent film done by, a woman who was just really into the topic. And so it doesn't have a budget, so it's not going to get there. And I'll be quiet for a minute because I see E-Man shaking his head here.
No, that's totally true, because another film that I think didn't get the push that it probably deserved, which really is blowing me away, was Origin, and that was by Ava DuVernay. I mean, we're talking Ava DuVernay. We're not talking about no slouch here, right? 13, when they see it, like Selma, but the movie Origin, I mean, talk about a tough film to watch, but that was something that if you wanted award competition, that's it, but how many people saw it? For whatever reason, Neon, I don't know if they had budget issues or whatever. Maybe the topics were a little too, tough, because it's dealing with the Holocaust, it's dealing with the Indian caste system, it's dealing with Trayvon Martin, it's dealing with a lot. But without the marketing, a lot of people didn't see it. A lot of people didn't get a chance to see it.
That you bring that up, E-Man, because you know how I learned about that. Of course, I read about it. I read everything. But more importantly, I saw some friends of mine at a premiere taking pictures with Ava, and it didn't appear to be some big Hollywood red carpet, fancy premiere like we're accustomed to in LA and Hollywood. So I do wonder, and you're right, very difficult topics. And given this period that we're in, this kind of backlash period where Black isn't in the way it was after George Floyd was murdered, I wonder, if that movie is just too heavy. But clearly, as Ava DuVernay, typically anything associated with her, you would anticipate or expect for it to have a big budget. Reggie, let's talk about all of the stuff coming out from Taraji about the work conditions and the treatment and the pay of folks, the actors in particular, on Color Purple. Folks are confused.
But before we do that, Areva, I do want to mention that when we talk about a heavy subject, the Killers of the Flower Moon is a heavy subject. it's a really heavy subject, and I'm really happy they did it from a white person's perspective to show that white people were recognizing that they were pillaging and intentionally trying to rape and take over Native Americans. Really happy about that. So that's a hard topic, but it got a big budget. It has a lot of push behind it. They're hoping that it's going to do really, really well from an Oscar perspective. So when we were watching Ava DuVernay's Origin, the place wasn't even full. We were questioning how is the studio going to market it, but they're probably like scratching their head saying, how do I market such a tough film in this regard, because it's going to come at everybody. And I know on the other side of the break, maybe we can talk about, your question with Taraji, but I really want to mention about the Killers of the Flower Moon being a tough topic as well.
No, I appreciate that, and you're right. When we come forward, I definitely want to talk about the truth that Taraji has been talking about The Color Purple and the producers and the directors, and is that causing some folks to, be repelled and not want to go see the movie? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
When we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The Virginia General Assembly made history today. Democratic Delegate Don Scott is officially the first Black Speaker of the House now that the 60-day session is underway. Democrats hold a slim majority in both the House and the Senate and have filed bills seeking stricter gun control measures, state constitutional amendments protecting reproductive rights, and expanding voting access. The governor has asked lawmakers to cut Virginia's income tax rate and will be seeking support for a $2 billion economic development project in Alexandria. Yesterday's storm system caused problems for many in the D.C. area, including Vice President Kamala Harris. Air Force Two had to be diverted from its normal landing spot at Joint Base Andrews to Dulles International Airport. The plane reportedly encountered wind shear and diverted to Dulles as a precaution. Harris was returning to D.C. after a trip to Atlanta. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Accidents been cleared from South LA's 110 South before MLK Jr. Boulevard, with heavy traffic in recovery up to 10 minutes currently from the 10 Washington Boulevard interchange. In Alhambra, watch for an accident blocking the left lane of the 10 East before Fremont Avenue, while stop traffic is up to 30 minutes from the 5 State Street interchange. Redondo Beach still has a singular crash that still is blocking all lanes in both directions of PCH Highway 1 interchange between Beryl and Diamond Street. There's still no estimated time of reopening, and if you can, try to avoid this completely.
Hey, brother E-Man, check your
Today's
chat.
breakfast, 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave 4, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small
Reggie was,
seasoned
sending you a
potatoes, or
message.
medium hot coffee.
Yeah, I went direct.
Limited time only during
Oh, gotcha,
breakfast
gotcha.
hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The USC men's basketball team is back on the court tonight. The Trojans are at home against Washington State. Another opportunity for Trojans Nation to see freshman guard Bronny James and to see if his minutes will go up. LeBron's son has been averaging 18 minutes off the bench since rejoining the team. Doctors have Bronny on a minutes restriction after his recovery from a cardiac arrest in July. Tip-off tonight at 7:30 on Fox Sports 1. Top 5 college women's basketball teams in this week's AP poll: South Carolina, UCLA, Iowa, Baylor, and Colorado. USC is ninth. On the men's side, Purdue, Houston, Kansas, UConn, and Tennessee. Regardless of how the Rams do Sunday night in their playoff game at Detroit, Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris is expected to be a top candidate for NFL head coaching jobs. We'll keep you posted on Morris' situation. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
So, what are you doing this Friday morning? How about you come join the KBLA delegation as we make a historic announcement and unveil our climate justice campaign for 2024. We'll be assembled for this major press conference along with LA Mayor Karen Bass, Ben Jealous, Executive Director of the Sierra Club, and a host of other public and private leaders who are joining us on this journey to justice, climate justice. We can't think of a better way to kick off the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, linking social justice and climate justice. So, Come join us this Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. at the beautiful MLK Memorial Tree Grove at the top of Kenneth Hahn Park off La Cienega. Once again, that's this Friday morning, January 12th at 10:30 a.m. as we take on the task of elevating the climate conversation by amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are all witnessing in real time. KBLA delegation, we hope to see you this Friday morning at KBLA Talk 1580. Climate is king. Climate is king. God is king. God is king. God is king. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and we are talking about award seasons and the award season and the movies that should be getting a nod with two of the nation's leading film critics, Reggie Ponder is here and Emmanuel Eman Noisette. So, Reggie, we're talking about all of the tea that Taraji Henson has been spilling about the treatment of actors on The Color Purple. And for a lot of people, they thought she was accusing Oprah of not standing up for, not advocating for, not taking care of other Black actors. And then Oprah got asked on the red carpet at the Golden Globe, the recent awards that happened over the weekend, and she had to set the record straight, saying, no, I went to bat every time Taraji called me, but I was a paid producer, just like everyone else that had a contract, and it was Warner Brothers. But that message has been lost on a lot of people because I see a lot of people online accusing Oprah of not taking care of Black actors. Help us understand, what happens in these big movies where you have a studio like Warner Brothers, and how come, we need to appreciate that Oprah was not necessarily responsible for the pay and some of the other things that Taraji complained about.
All my life, I've had to fight. I had to fight my daddy. I had to fight my uncles. I had to fight my brothers. Look, it's a struggle. I mean, that is what Sophia says when she says that all my life I had to fight, is she's saying she had to fight everybody. And the fact of the matter is that I don't think that Taraji is trying to throw some shade at Oprah, but she's trying to say all my life I've had to fight. And that it's been a fight everywhere. I heard Terrence Howard maybe about a month ago talking about he made no money on Hustle and Flow. None. Not a penny. So the actors know that they gotta put in the time, and hopefully at some point in time they get paid. And if you saw Taraji talking with her sisters, she said, look, you guys need to relish this moment. This is going to be one of the few times that we're going to get to tell our story. We're going to get to talk about our people. We're going to get to shine the way we need to shine. It's going to be one of the few times. However, it's not without its challenges. There's still going to be all my life I've had to fight. You still are going to have to fight, and that's what I think Taraji is saying. I guess that's really simple. Areva, I guess I'm being really simple on that, but
Well, I think what you're doing is you're avoiding what people are seeing. Maybe you're giving us the insider's perspective, but man, what people who are watching this on the internet and watching these interviews, what they're seeing is Taraji pointing the finger saying, Miss Billionaire Oprah Winfrey, you got paid and we didn't. Now, Oprah clarified that, but that's what a lot of people took away from what she was saying. Oprah Winfrey's on TV every day promoting the color purple. She's wearing purple. She's bleeding purple. And then Taraji's over here saying, I can't get a car. I can't get a driver, to the set.
Yeah. So I think the problem is that there are too many people that have big platforms talking about the situation and they don't know how the industry works. So for example, you saw popular TikTokers talking about, ooh, look at this friction between Oprah and Taraji while they're doing this photo shoot. And even Oprah came out and was like, we was cold. And I'm like, look, I'm not smiling and shucking and jiving when it's cold outside either. So it's like people read into things a little too much, but there is just a lot of ignorance from just the average person on how these things work with the studios. Some people don't even know what producers do for a living either. So, and I mean, like I heard some of this discourse online. And I remember people were like, yo, is Taraji out of pocket for asking for a car? Like, who does she think she is? And I had to kind of put it in perspective. And I'm like, look, you look at someone like myself, Mr. Reggie Ponder, you have studios that will fly us out. They'll put us up in a nice hotel, give us a little money for food, have us watch these movies, etc. We are nobodies compared to your money makers, the actors and actresses. So you could do that for 40, 50, 60, 100 of us, but you can't do it for the 4, 5, 6, 7 people on set that's directly responsible for your production.
That's trying to get award. That you trying to get have them get awards so you can walk around and say Oscar nominated, Golden Globe nominated, Critics' Choice nominated, and you can't do that. So yeah, I agree 100% with what he's saying. And if you thought I was trying to avoid it, I wasn't trying to avoid it. I think that it's two things. What E-Man is saying, one is ignorance, but also is ignorance. Is that people are looking to talk about stuff that just to cause some kind of friction between people. They always are looking for that. But I'm really glad that Gail said, this is my friend, this is my girl, but I'm going to go ask this question. And Oprah didn't know that question was coming. You could tell Oprah didn't know it, but she was like, all right, let me go ahead and just set the record straight. She said,
let me say this, Reggie. Let me jump in. So, E-Man, you're right. And I have been talent on shows, and I ain't made nobody no Golden Globe, no Oscar, none of that, and I've gotten a car. So 100%, Taraji needed a car, and that crap about them saying to her, if we get you a car, we have to get everyone. Hell no, that ain't how it works. The biggest stars on set get things that other folks don't. If you're a walk-on or you got 2 lines and I'm carrying the show, I'm going to get more money. I'm going to get a bigger trailer. I'm going to get a better makeup team. I'm going to get a whole lot of stuff. And it makes sense because, that's if I'm in corporate America, I'm the CEO. I'm going to make more money than the person that works in the mailroom. That's just capitalism. That's kind of how it is. But I think what I'm trying to get at, that you all, I think, you all are insiders. You know that this is noise. But for a lot of people, I think it was right for them to ask, how can we have the biggest Black woman, in business, in media, Oprah Winfrey, be parading all over television in purple, and then have Taraji crying saying she had to fight to get paid? I think that's a legitimate question. I don't think it's just people causing mess. I think that's a legitimate question, and people don't know how it works. And that's why I'm asking this, so that you insiders can educate people on how it works. Because if you've never negotiated a contract, and you're right, you hear producer, you think Oprah got the bag, that she got all the money and she's controlling who gets what. Oprah had to say, wait a minute, that's Warner Brothers.
Right.
I negotiated my deal with Warner Brothers. Taraji, Danielle, everybody had their own negotiated deal with Warner Brothers, but that's not common knowledge.
Right,
Ain't nobody seen
but
Mr.
here's
Warner
where the
Brothers
mess
sitting
happens.
on a stage talking
But
about the color purple and wearing a purple dress.
But here's where the mess happens for me, Areva. She did not say at any point, Oprah Winfrey screwed me. So
right.
So that's
But
where the mess happens.
come on.
I'm just saying,
No,
for
she
me,
didn't have
that's
to
where the
say
mess
that.
happens.
She said
is
the
that-
movie screwed me. She said I got screwed. Implicit in what she was saying was I got screwed by this movie, and Oprah is aligning herself as the face of the movie. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to say, okay, the movie screwed me. People would make that conclusion, rightfully or wrongfully. And all I'm saying is we have an opportunity, those of us who know this business, to just clear it up. Because I don't think everybody was trying to start. My 92-year-old aunt wasn't trying to start no mess. She was just trying to say, Areva.
I'll put it like this.
Tell me how this works.
Producers come in. Sometimes producers don't always have the same role. They might have similar titles, but they don't do the same things. Shaq could be a producer. That don't mean he's making the shots or calling the shots on set. He just might be the person that gave a little money to make it happen. So it always depends on the role and the duties that they are that they've signed up for and that they're trying to pursue. So for example, as Oprah said, she didn't even know about some of these standards that I would assume many of them took for granted and was like, what do you mean you don't have a car? What do you mean they didn't do this? Like, that's industry standard. So when it was brought to Oprah's attention, according to her, she was like, oh, I called up the studio and said, yo, get my girl a car. Yo, do this. So there are a lot of things that, it depends on how involved these people are. And by the way, Steven Spielberg was a producer.
That's
why ain't
what I
nobody
was gonna
talking about
say.
him? He was in that too. So why is it like automatic all on Oprah?
But you know what you just did, Eric?
Too.
I just called you Eric. You know what you just did, E-Man?
Yeah.
You just gave people some valuable information, some insider's knowledge about producers. A producer could be somebody that just invested money, has no operational responsibilities, all the way to a producer that's on that set every day that is involved in negotiating those contracts. That's all. All I'm saying is I wanted to clear it up for people because I don't think inherently, I know the Black women and people that asked me about it, I don't think they were inherently hoping that there was, beef between Oprah and Taraji, but they didn't do a good job. And Oprah didn't come out and really explain that until I didn't really hear her explanation until she was on the red carpet. And sometimes just a little good information can quell a lot of mess. When we come forward, more on the best Black movies of 2023, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement, a dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Cover California is a free service from the state that's already helped millions of people like you get and pay for health insurance. With financial help to lower the cost of health coverage, you could get a quality health plan for less than $10 a month. Every plan covers preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. If you have questions, we're here to help every step of the way. Cover California, this way to health insurance. Enroll by January 31st at coveredca.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, it's getting hot in here. Reggie Ponder and E-Man. We're talking about the best movies, black movies in particular of 2023. I know, E-Man, you want to say something else about Taraji and The Color Purple before I have to ask both of you about Shannon Sharpe and Next Friday and Cat Williams. So get ready. Yeah. It's about to get hotter. So go ahead, E-Man.
So just to give people context, this is not, I don't want people looking at Taraji acting like she's just spoiled or, she's just like whining and crying. Viola Davis said the same thing. Jamon Hantu said the same thing. This is not a new thing when Black actors let you know that they're not being treated equally. And that's the part that I think gets lost. This ain't about Taraji versus Oprah. Okay. This is also an issue of Black actors versus their counterparts, white actors, people that have less of a resume, less merit, less acumen, or, awards or accolades, and they're getting paid more. They're getting treated better. And that's where the problem lies. If this was equal all across the board, you wouldn't have this type of conversations. You wouldn't have these complaints. But when you see some other actress that is less accomplished than Taraji and they're getting paid double or whatever, now there's a problem, So I think that we can't forget that we're also talking about some major inequality in Hollywood that's not only racial, it's gender, and sometimes also age as well.
Yeah, I'm really
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm going to give Taraji a lot of credit for bringing forth those issues, because whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, a talk show host, a truck driver, or an actor in Hollywood, we know systemic racism, and as you said, ageism and ableism. There's a lot of isms that dictate disparities in pay and in treatment. So this is a conversation I agree about equity. And thank you, Oprah, for clearing it up. And I just want to say, you said nobody's talking about Steven Spielberg. I think a lot of these folks, they didn't even know Steven Spielberg was a producer. Again, Oprah made herself the face of the movie. And when you do that, you're going to take the brunt of the heat. Okay, Reggie, we got to move on. Shannon Sharpe, in that interview, Cat Williams, that 3-hour-long interview that got, 25 million views, more than, I guess, a Super Bowl or close to a Super Bowl. We got some news about a new movie. He said Ice Cube is putting together, there is a new movie next Friday or next Friday 2 or 3. Is that true? Is that some news that was broke on that Shannon Sharpe interview?
Yeah, for me, that was some news that was broke. One of the reasons that I say that seriously, you think it's a love fest, but that E-Man is one of the best in the business, is that he really does have his ear down and catches some of this new stuff before I do. So it was news to me. So I'd have to defer to E-Man to see if he had heard some stuff prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, the Ice Cube has been talking about another Friday movie for years. So any type of update is, I wouldn't say it's brand new news, but it's just nice to know that it's still in the works, because I think a lot of people assume that movies, when they get announced, that somebody thought about it last week and they just hurried up and made it. Like, some of these things take years in the making. Like they've waited 5, 10, 15 years. Schedule conflicts happen. Money can't get negotiated. It's all these different factors that can be an issue. But the next Friday, the other Friday movie, whatever they want to call it. That's been in the works for a very, very long time.
And thanks to my producer, Robert, correcting me, not 25 million views, 40 million views.
Wow.
All right, Reggie, you are not getting off that easy by saying you're going to defer to email. You better talk to me about what you thought about that interview and all that vitriol Kat was directing at everybody, from Cedric to Steve to Kevin Hart. You name it. He had something to say about it. What do you make of what our friend Kat Williams did on that interview?
I have two thoughts. I'm of two minds. One is that if it's on your heart and that's how he feels the industry has treated him, then it's similar to what we were talking about with Taraji. You know, he's saying, look, this is what happened to me. This is how people have been treating me and that type of thing. So I can't, it's tough when we say you get hit in the face and then somebody says, well, you weren't hurt. I can't do that. I can't do that. So I'm gonna say, okay, Kat, maybe all that stuff happened. I'm gonna say I'm sorry that happened to you and that you're in that situation. But then my second mind says, my mom would always ask me, who's the common denominator? So if you have a problem with Steve Harvey, now you got a problem with Kevin Hart, you got a problem with Ricky Smiley, you got a problem with Tom Joyner, you got a problem. Who is the common denominator? So at some point, I would like Kat to say, yeah, these are what I experienced, but maybe I could have, is that there might have been something that I might have been able to do. But he want to put it in, from my perspective, that it's all of them, you know, ganging up on them. And in fact, from what I know from working advertising for a lot of time, all of them don't even like each other. So they got together and they said, you know what? Hey, don't let Kat do no business. You make sure you don't let Kat do no business. I'm not feeling it. So go cry me a river.
Well, you know, one thing that shocked me, E-Man, was the initial response online. If you were following the social media posts, it seemed to be that the community, and I'm going to call it the community, particularly Black Twitter, was 100% in Kat's corner. Folks started, you know, posting things to, like, you know, giving him receipts for a lot of the statements he was saying. Now, later on, as we start to hear, you know, Cedric and Kevin speak up, some of the, you know, the kind of momentum shifted. But did that catch you by surprise, how many people were willing to say, yeah, Kat's telling the truth, yeah, that's true, blah, blah, blah? You know, that was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about the whole community, and I probably should change my name because, hi, I'm part of the community. I thought it was hilarious. I thought he was on point with a lot of stuff. And this is where me and Reggie might slightly differ. And the only difference is really just, I think Kat was speaking his truth, right? He was speaking, like when he was talking about Ricky Smiley, he was talking about his perspective. He's talking about his contract and what his approach was to this role. And Ricky was talking about his side, and Ice Cube was talking about his side. And I didn't really hear anyone say, you a liar. No, that's not true. It was just kind of like, no, from my angle, this is what I saw and this is what I know, you know? So for me, I did not take everything as 100% truth. I mean, the man read 3,000 books.
What about those 3,000 books?
Yeah, right. You know, so like, oh, okay, Kat, okay. You know, but at the end of the day, I still think that he said what was on his heart. What I found more interesting, because by the way, yes, the internet never forgets and they always keep receipts. What I found more interesting was the reactions, not from the community, but from the people he was talking about. Because what did they say? A hit dog will holler. That to me was way more interesting, that you had all of
in
these
what
comedians.
regard? I mean, did you think their responses were appropriate and proportionate, or you were saying you expected more?
The funny thing is, well, there were two things. One, I loved some of the responses, like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart responded quickly, was like, man, get that anger out your heart. Oh, by the way, I got a new movie coming out, blah, 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 right? That's brilliant marketing, because he jumped on the wave, jumped on the trend, used that opportunity to ride the wave.
For him, right?
Exactly. You had other people like Cedric be kind of dismissive of it, or whatever, and that's fine. You know, they can do whatever they want, but the one thing that I think that really stuck out to me was Kat talked about all they wives, every single one of them. said that you're gonna get married to a funny
7.
face looking light-skinned woman. And out of all
7
the
of 'em.
responses, I ain't heard not one of them defend their wives. I was like, y'all not gonna say nothing about your significant other? You go. So anyway, that's what I found surprising.
No, nobody came forth, and I didn't hear a lot of black women going off on Cat Williams for going off on women. That was also a very interesting response. The female response was pretty muted because he was quite harsh in describing these 7 wives. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I don't know. I'll give you the last word on this, Reggie. You hope that Cat does some introspection and that he thinks about the role that he may have played in making some of these relationships toxic. But what do you think happens next? Obviously, Shannon Sharpe has 40 million viewers that tuned in, so he's got a lot of new folks that are going to be watching the show. Are you expecting to see some of those folks he talked about come on to Shannon's show to give their rebuttal?
Yeah, if Shannon's smart, he's going to do
Give it
what
to me
happened.
in 10 seconds, my producer's telling me.
Yeah, if Shannon's smart, he's going to do what happened with the former quarterback of the Green Bay Packers,
Aaron
I'm forgetting
Rodgers.
his name, who talked really bad about some people, and then all of a sudden he's back. So he going to have Cat back on. That's what I think. He'll have Cat back on. There'll be some more discussion, and Cat will clarify and say, humana, and that's what I think.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have Reggie Ponder and E-Man back on because that's what we do. It has been great talking to you all. We are out of time. Next voice that you hear will be Robin Ayers in the Rob Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't touch that dial.